Good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? How's everybody doing this morning? Screen sharing going here. Make sure our YouTube feed is looking good. That looks solid. Yep, looks good there. All right. Let's take a look at these unemployment numbers, or initial jobless claims numbers, I should say, that just dropped. So slightly elevated at 224 initial claims versus the previous reading and the consensus, about 12,000 higher there. Potentially positive news from a inflationary, when is the Fed gonna cut rates perspective. And we're seeing at least from a future standpoint, market trying to bounce a little bit after that data has been released. Let's take a look at this on a slightly smaller time frame. Trying to push a little bit, but nothing to really get excited about, at least not so far. Definitely seems to be a little bit of a trend forming underneath right about here. That would keep an eye on. Also could be part of a bear flag there, but we'll keep an eye on it. Nothing really too, like I said, exciting so far based on those initial jobless claims. So where are we at? What are we looking at? What should we be thinking about as we head into the close of this week and start getting ready for next in the first day of trading here in February? By the way, good morning, everybody. What's up, Denny, CD, Navy Plum? What's up, buddy? Good morning to you, Sataru, Rockstar, Terry, Ben, Strife, AZ, Vikazi, PJ, Eric, Milan, Carrie. Good morning. Good morning. What's up, Andy? Advance something? Can't see the rest of that name, but and Dama. All right. So anyway, good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here with me. If you don't have the chat open, please go ahead and get that opened up. Little word bubble icon, top right hand corner of the morning live stream channel. If you don't already have that open. So, what happened yesterday with the FOMC meeting and or press conference, I should say, and rate decision? Not really a surprise whatsoever. The Fed has said for months now a couple of things. One, we've more than likely achieved the peak rate or hit the peak of rates for this rate hike cycle. So they don't anticipate needing to hike rates any further, which is definitely positive news. And they've consistently, I would say, maintained that there will likely be rate cuts this year. I think they're all in agreement on that. But they've also, I would say, consistently said that the anticipation is for that to happen probably sometime in the second half of this year or close to the second half of this year. The market, I think, as we all know, has been heavily pricing in a March rate cut. That's still, I would say, not totally off the table. I mean, as Jerome Powell always kind of caveats his statements, it's based on data. This is all going to be very data driven. What's the data telling them to do? So, is a March rate hike totally off the table? It's a greater than zero chance, but I would say just barely. Again, I think he really kind of reaffirmed that they don't foresee a scenario where a March rate cut is going to be justified. So market's been pricing the potential for that in for quite some time, and so not surprised to see a little bit of a pullback, but still ultimately the narrative hasn't changed that much. So I don't expect this to be overall triggering of a much larger pullback unless we start to get a bunch of negative inflation data that piles on top of that, and I think continues to drive concerns that rates will continue to stay higher for even longer than we are currently anticipating. I think if the projection for a rate cut starts to bleed into Q4 of this year based on any data that comes out in the next couple of months, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a deeper pullback on the market. But overall, from a chart perspective, which is certainly what we want to focus on, Again, ES seems to be trying to establish a new uptrend here after that pullback from FOMC yesterday. It's held this 48, 73, 75 level, which I think is a pretty key level from a futures perspective. As you can see, we've tested that as resistance, broken above, and really established a nice base off this double bottom here and pushed higher. We did get a little bit of a push below it with that FOMC sell-off that we saw yesterday, but again, kind of almost immediately bought right back up and bouncing back on that level again. So maybe a little bit of a liquidity hunt here, which if that is the case, I would expect this move to actually continue up. Essentially, they've shaken out all the long positions and pulled in the liquidity that they want to push things higher and potentially make another leg up. So it does look like that a little bit. Overall, 200 and 333 SMAs still sitting bullish, still trending to the upside. So we have gotten down into the buying pressure that exists between these two moving averages, and we're responding the way we should so far. So, I would say could be a decent opportunity to buy the dip potentially here. So, with that being said, let's get into some trade plan recaps, and then also going to go ahead and throw it out for you guys to start giving me your ticker requests for this morning. So go ahead and post those in the chat if you have a ticker that you want me to take a look at and work up a trade plan for. Please go ahead and start posting those in the live stream chat channel, and I will do my best to cover as many of those as I possibly can. All or nothing, Tesla or Apple, we're already going to talk about those. So yeah, I've probably already got you covered. So let's recap our trade plans from this past weekend, the member selected tickers that I do or try to do every weekend, as many weekends as I possibly can. Apple, again, we put this plan together and posted it Sunday evening before we even started trading for the week. Our entry level for puts was below 191.04 with targets at 189.63, 188.22, and 187.15. We talked about this Tuesday. We already saw that push down and a bounce off of PT1, a very clean bounce right back up to the stop loss average down. Up here at 191.96, and then a rejection back below. Got a nice back test again of this. Let me move this long short thing out of the way. Nice back test again of the put entry here that ultimately just within a day sent us down for all of our downside price targets pretty much right as we went into the close. And Apple has continued to the downside, but is now hitting, I think, a pretty key support level and also catching this bigger picture uptrend down here. So I mentioned this yesterday, as long as Apple's holding 184.47, I think this looks like a good area for a bounce, honestly, and Apple could potentially push higher. So continue to keep your eyes on that, but below 184.47, it certainly looks pretty bearish at this point. I would say for me to be really convinced that this is going to continue to the upside, I'd like to see 188.22 break for continuation to the upside, but I think there is room for Apple to push up from this range again, as long as 184.47 holds up to 187.56 and then potentially 188.22 over that. I think it continues to the upside from there. So that's where Apple's sitting at right now. Again, below 184.47, I think there's a potential opportunity to play this for another leg down. Down to this 182.80 level. I would keep my stop right here at this 185.59 level that we are wrestling with a little bit here this morning. So if you want some thoughts on Apple, I would certainly say that this would be a good rehash, because this was a previous trade plan that we did at some point with a break below 184.47 and targets at 182.80, 181.19, and 179.30. So that would be your continuation to the downside plan. To the upside, again, I'd really want to see that 188.22 level break. If that does break, 187.15 needs to hold. Targets at 189. I'm just looking at something real quick here. Yeah, no, I think I'm good with, yeah, I'm good with that being the first price target. I was just wondering if it should maybe be a little bit higher. Um, Next target over 189.63, I'd be looking at 190.33, and then potentially a test up here of 191.96. I'm gonna, yeah, that'll work. That'll kind of allow me to track two trade plans at once in a weird kind of way. So anyway, those would be the updated trade plans from here. But overall, again, downside plan from Sunday, all targets achieved, and then some. Levels have reacted very nicely. Could have really traded this more than once. Could have caught the Monday move down to PT1 and got taken profits there, and then gotten a re-entry there on Tuesday all the way down to PT3. So congrats if you traded the plan on this one. But this would be the updated trade plans for Apple, and again, what we'd be looking for is a break over 188.22 to play for upside. Targets at 189.63, 190.33, and then on up to 191.96 with a stop loss average down at 187.15. To the downside, we'd be looking for a break below 184.47 with targets at 182.80, 181.19, and 179.30 with a stop loss average down at 185.59. And again, as long as 184.47 is holding, I like Apple for a bounce, continuation, push for the upside from here. So that is the Apple recap and new trade plan, kind of all at once there. Just recapping AMD here. This one we did again on Sunday. This was essentially a no trade until earnings report hit. And then once their ER did take place, well, I take that back. We did get a break below and a back test of resistance. Would have definitely been very ballsy to take this back test entry knowing that you were going into ER. But I mean, ultimately, and this goes to something we say often, charts precede the news. AMD was setting up for downside going in to the close and into that earnings report, so not surprised that continuation to the downside played out. But I don't know if, I forget what the stats were, but I don't know if the move was significant enough to offset the IV crush from an earnings report, which, you know, goes to something I say all the time. You're foolish if you're swinging any kind of, you know, short term. When I would say short term, I would say like anything less than like 60, 90 days on it through an earnings report. It's kind of a fool's errand if you ask me. But ultimately, developed a base right there at our third price target. So I think our plan pretty much called the bottom on that ER move and has since pushed back up, but starting to run into some selling pressure here. So again, would have been risky, but overall, because essentially you would have needed to swing through this earnings report for it to play out. And even then, while the plan worked, could have gotten IV crushed and not really come away with that much money anyway. So yeah, a little bit of a tough one with AMD. Plan worked out, but whether or not it was actionable and profitable, I think there's a question mark. But the plan worked out beautifully. So sometimes that happens. In fact, I just did my trade review for January on the PayPal trade that we took, where, you know, essentially the plan worked out exactly the way I wanted it to. We should, by all rights, have made more money on that trade, but, you know, we wound up with a, you know, I'd say fairly meager 10% because of, you know, when we hit our price targets and the severity of the pullback after hitting that second price target from the PayPal trade plan we had in place. So Tesla, another one from the member selected tickers over the weekend. Again, this one is broken out, got to PT2 going into market open Tuesday. I talked about this one. I said, you know, go ahead, take some profits at open and move your stops up to PT1. PT1 did held, so if you didn't, you know, follow the guidance on taking profits near open and stuck to your guns with PT1 being your stop loss average down as this plan has continued to play out to the upside, you did get a second opportunity and a really even better test, I would say, of that, well, pretty much equal test of PT2 there before catching that as resistance and rejecting down to the stop loss average down level on Tesla, from which it ultimately bounced to the upside and is now trying to back test and hold the call entry and continue higher. So Keep your eyes on Tesla. These levels have clearly played out extremely well. I mean, looking at this bounce, essentially playing PT1 up to PT2, broke back below, back tested as resistance, sold off down to the stop loss average down, bounced from there. I mean, those levels played out really beautifully in the overall moves that Tesla has made since we put this plan together over the weekend. So from here, again, if Tesla can reclaim 192.10, I like it to try to push maybe for PT2 again up to 196.50. I would keep a tight leash on this one though at this point because it definitely looks a little choppy, a little bit wishy-washy, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. It doesn't really look like there's a lot of conviction at the moment on which direction it wants to head, but so I would keep a stop loss probably around 190.67 if you play that 192.10 break for a potential shot at 196.50 again. But overall, Tesla plan again has played out very nicely. PayPal we did on Tuesday's live stream. This one we were looking for, let me zoom this in a little bit. We did this Tuesday morning. We were looking for a break below 62.80 with targets at 62.19 and 61.42. We did get the breakdown below the put entry, hit our first price target, bounced hard from there. Ultimately tried to give us a confirmed break of PT1. Doesn't really look like a great confirmation there on the 15-minute. And on the 5-minute, it's not a really great confirmation either. We do get a candle close above here. Indecision, potential reversal doji right there. I don't like that. It didn't really kind of extend or look very strong after we did get that close above. Ultimately pulled back down, back tested the stop loss average down from that put plan going into the FOMC meeting yesterday. Sold off down to PT2 from there. And has selling pressure on it now from a Neptune perspective. So below 62.19, I would expect PayPal to continue to the downside, and really, I would say even as high as 62.48 to 62.64 area with the 200 and 333s in a bearish setup, and both kind of overhead as resistance in that area. And unless we can really clear above that 62.48 to 62.64 area, potentially, PayPal does look like it's going to have pressure overhead and may struggle for upside. And then last but not least, Snow we did Tuesday during the morning live stream. This one broke down during the extended hours session and took us all the way down to PT1. So this one, again, would have been a challenge to really kind of adjust this plan. And actually, execute it. Overall, targets played out well, though. Really nice bounce that it's trying to hold here off of PT2 for puts. I mean, we called that super clean right there. Also have a little bit of an uptrend that it's trying to catch here. So, as long as Snow holds a base in this zone, you could see it try to push back up based on where Neptune is sitting. I'd at least want to see it back over 201.23. Then it gets interesting for potential continuation to the upside. So, those are our recaps and a quick trade plan there with an adjusted Apple plan for all or nothing on one of his requests. Next we got Disney for Jay Bosch, so let's take a look at that. Let's plan some new stuff here. Sorry if those recaps took a minute, but good to watch those plans. I hope you guys are paying attention not only to the daily SPY plans I post every morning in the options watch list, but also the member selected tickers that I'm posting every Sunday. We tend to find some serious money makers with those member selected tickers, and also pay close attention to anything Chris asks me to chart on one of these live streams, because that guy seems, between the two of us, when our powers combine, we seem to find some really great trades. I think our most recent one was DraftKings. I mean, that one played out for all of our targets plus a few dollars, I think. So Chris always with the good ticker requests. All right, sorry, I had to get some coffee in there. What are we looking at? We're looking at Disney. Let's take a look. All right. I do have some existing levels here on Disney, so this could expedite our trade planning process. They also seem to be playing out quite well. Nice bounce here pre-market off that 333 4-hour confluence there at 95.55. fact, I can already tell I like this for for a potential downside entry. The first target there at 94.51 and a stop loss at this weekly level that we've held as support at 96.36. So this one's kind of just jumping right out at me, which I like. Yeah, I like that second price target right where I had it from previous trade plan at some point. Looks like it was one of our upside PTs from a call entry down here around 91.85. I like that as a second target. Third target. Yeah, I just want to look at price action for a second here. You know what? I take this. I'm going to make a small adjustment to this, actually. Take that back. I really like 93.40 a little bit better as a first price target. Kind of a tight PT 2 and 3, but really nice base there that we've seen a couple of times. Prior resistance, near prior resistance at least. So that could hold up there at 92.61. Let's see if... Yeah, also have the 333 coming up right there. So adding that confluence into the mix adds confirmation or confidence, in my opinion, that that level could hold even on a decent sell-off. So that's the downside of things for Disney. Let's take a look at what happens over 97.47. That's intriguing to me. When was the last time Disney was over that is the big question. Let's see. Have to zoom out a little bit. Again, I want to focus on price action. Yeah, seeing some nice bounce touches there, at least back here, April of last year. A couple of nice bounces off that level. We are rejecting it here on this recent test. Yeah, I think if we can get over that, upside becomes very interesting, actually. And a bit of a fair value gaps to fill still on this one with this big sell imbalance right here. But looking at sort of where some of the key levels were leading up to that, I certainly like 98.90 as a first price target. Over that, yeah, I'd be looking at 164. Interesting double top around this level at 102.70. I think that's just shooting a little too high, though. Let me look at one more thing here, because I know that Disney tends to be a little bit light on the pre-market volume or the extended hours trading, so sometimes it makes sense to look at just regular trading hours on tickers like that. Yeah, I think the third price target really does sit more around right around this spot right here at 102.07. It's just a level I haven't charted yet, and maybe just haven't looked at the Disney chart since that level was really built up and established. So let's see if this all continues to jive with, where am I? There we go. So then the only other question I really have is, do we share a stop loss there at 96.36? I think the answer is probably yes, but let's just double check this real quick. Yeah. for sure. So definitely a little bit skewed for upside, I would say, on Disney right now. That doesn't mean downside can't play out. Just a little seems to favor the upside a little bit. That's all I'm saying. So here are the Disney trade plans. Let me just take a look at this one more time. All right, so what's a quick question? Do we need to have enough capital to buy shares when you short options like HUT short put you picked yesterday? Yes. So in that particular, well, at least my approach to that particular trade, and if you're, yeah, I would say in that particular scenario, because the intent is being okay with taking assignment of those shares, essentially around that strike price minus the premium collected. So, I think it puts us pretty close to like a $6 cost per share, net cost per share if we do take assignment. So I was getting ready to say technically you could do it as a spread, but the problem with doing it as a spread is it kind of takes away the positives of collecting the premium and taking assignment in a wheel type of a setup. So yeah, I'd say if I'm alerting just a straight, sell to open put, yeah, it's you got to have the capital. So it's a cash secure put, right? So essentially you're saying I'm willing to buy 100 shares at this price. I'm willing to be paid a little bit of money to put my capital on the line to buy those 100 shares. So that's the premium you collect from selling the contracts. So yeah, and in that particular case, yes, you do need. So in other words, you would need approximately $700 of buying power to sell to open those puts. Also understanding that you're going to pretty much immediately be credited the full premium for selling that contract, which was, I forget what the number was on it off the top of my head. But anyway, yeah, so that's how those trades work. So circling back to our Apple trade plan, just to recap this and move on to maybe getting one more trade plan out here this morning. We're looking for on Disney a break over 97.47. That should bring us targets at 98.90, 164, and 102.07 with a stop loss average down at 96.36. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 95.55. That should give us targets at 94.51, 93.40, and 92.61 with a shared stop loss average down at that 96.36 weekly level. So that is your, oh shoot, I did not post the chart. Sorry about that. Is trade plans. But we just talked through them, and I think you guys can follow solid lines or entries, dashed lines, price targets, heavy dotted lines, stop loss average down, these long short scenarios, that being your short area, this being your profit area, I'm sorry, your loss, your risk area, and your reward area. Same thing here, risk, reward. Should make those easy to see, even if you're just looking at the chart and didn't follow along as I was talking through that trade plan. All right, so let's take a look at our XLV for Harry. Okay, let's take a look at that. Whoops. Healthcare sector. Just coming off of a 52-week high. Not one I've really ever looked at or traded that I can recall. So just coming off that and very near all-time highs, but that's doesn't mean we can't come up with a plan for it. So let's do some charting. This might be just a tiny bit lower right there. Yeah, something there. Interesting multi-top here. Nothing confirmed at that level yet, but interesting. Nonetheless, with multiple fairly clean resistance touches there, so a level we'll keep an eye on as we go through our time frames here. Yeah, that's right about there. Yeah, there too. Probably all we're gonna squeeze out of the weekly chart. Let's take a look at this daily chart. I highly doubt. Yeah, that's just kind of a, well, I said I highly doubt, but I was wrong. This is the daily level. Can confirm. This is somewhat interesting so far. Yeah, there is something there. And yeah, probably something right about here. Yep. Yeah, that holds up. Let's see. Something right about there. Debating on this level. Maybe it's just a little tiny bit lower. Maybe we're catching it right there. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, let's see where that puts us. Okay. Something there. And probably right here. Like that. Is there anything established on this daily chart in this range? I think the answer is yep, right there and right here. I think that's probably, based on what I'm seeing, gonna put us in pretty good shape from a daily perspective. So let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. Interesting bunch of support that XLV found right around here, but not really seeing sort of the two sides of that level that I want to see. Interesting resistance build up right there. But again, that alone doesn't really tell us what we need to see. So I need to start focusing on some of these higher levels. I think there is something. I think it's, I've got it just a little bit. Yeah, right there. It goes on between 137.03 and 137.96. The answer is not a whole lot so far. Yeah, there's something right in that neck of the woods. Also very interesting build up a resistance on this level. Take another look at that. So I think we do have a 4-hour level right here. And yeah, there's a level sitting right about here. Alright, I think that probably puts us in good shape as far as support and resistance goes. Yeah, I did want to take another look, though, at this placeholder level real quick. There's something here. I think it's maybe just a little... kind of threads the needle right there. Alright, and the last thing I wanted to check was just this little bit of support buildup that we had. Let's see if this plays out, vets itself out. If so, I think we're good to go with our putting together our trade plans. Pretty decent little test there, breakover back test. Yeah, break pull up. Yeah, I like it. It's good. All right, so last thing we're going to need to do is, and this is an interesting possible, yeah, never mind, I thought it was a little bit too aggressive. Could be based off this, though. Let's see. Yeah, pretty close to that, right about at that spot. Let's see what a trend-based fib extension shows us. I think we've got enough to go on. Play it off of this. So I'd be looking at something that runs from there to there down to here. Yeah, right about there. So that gives us potential, right? Because these would be, I believe, let's just see where this, be interested to see if this fib extension right here catches that one little print that we had over the 141.77 level. Let's see. Nah, it shoots a little bit higher, but where does that? I wonder if that does hit one of our fib extensions. If it doesn't, I won't use it, but hey, how about that? Right near the 0.786. I do like that, right where that is. That's good. All right, so that, I think, also adds some validity to these fib extensions being probably about as dialed in as they're going to be. Again, these are, give these fib extension levels a pretty wide, reasonable range. You know, I'd say like something that's trading in the 150 range, like 30 to 50 cents on either side could be where the actual level plays out of these. But again, we're projecting essentially never before tested support and resistance levels by using those. Also catches a level right here that we didn't have charted, but does look a little bit interesting to me, so we'll throw that in the mix as well. So what are we looking for on this move to the upside? I think we're looking for a break over this 141.77 level. That should give us a first price target up there at 142.87.618. That's always a key fib level to watch. I think our wick, that little print we had, came up to that 143.58 level, didn't it? Which will probably make it our second price target. Yep. And then from there, I think that puts us at the 100%. Yep. So that would be a very smart third price target based on the information we have available. Stop loss average down. I mean, the 0.236 right there, yeah, I'd say let's use that, actually. You could really give it a little bit more room down to 140.88, I think, but it's, I don't think it changes the how the options contracts, how the plan is going to play out all that much, by maybe keeping it a little bit tighter, especially since we're shooting for something that is in mostly untested waters currently, and potentially for our trade plan entering untested waters entirely. Let's take a look at this too before I get too far. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to see anything overhead from an indicator standpoint based on where we're sitting, but this does help me figure out what I want to do with a potential downside plan, which I think I'd want to see 139.61 break before I get too interested in downside. Whoops, grabbed the wrong thing. That should take us down. I mean, I like 138.56 really based on the price action. The thing that gives me a little bit of pause playing that as a target is the 333 kind of running right above this trend line also. I'd say 138.90. I'm just going to be a little bit more conservative on that first price target. I think it is 138.56. Stop loss average down here at 140.15. So kind of a tight window to the downside, but I think it's the right way to play this. Below 138.90, and again, I'd say really the price target's probably 138.56, but let's not. I don't want to be greedy, especially with where some of these confluences could pop up. 137.96 below that. And again, really, that's kind of, I'd be expecting that more if we break 138.56. That really could hold. But we'll be out before that even happens. Below that, I mean, there's big buy imbalance right here. And if we're below PT2 from the plan, it really puts us below any kind of trend or SMA support. I'd be looking for a little bit of a stretch target down here to 136.55, to be honest. So, this is what our trade plans on XLV look like. So, what we're looking for here on XLV, the Healthcare Spider Select Sector Fund, is a break over 141.77. That should give us targets at 142.87, 143.58, and 144.57 with a stop loss average down at 141.15. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 139.61. That should bring targets at 138.90, and again, I think that's really 138.56, but I would take profit at 138.90 just to be safe. Next target below that, 137.96, and ultimate downside target there at 136.55 with a stop loss average down at 140.15. All right, we are about 15 minutes out from market open, so with that, I think this is a good spot to go ahead and wrap things up for the week. Also, if you guys haven't seen it yet, there should be posted, or it looks like it's in the announcements. No, not yet, but it should be coming in the announcements probably sometime today. The monthly survey, you know, who taught you the most, who showed you the most, whose plans made you the most money, or whose alerts made you the most money. You know, go ahead and make sure that when you see that survey get posted that you are providing us with your feedback. It is critically important to how we gauge our performance as a team here at Xtrades. So make sure to take a few minutes out of your day when you do see that posted in the announcements channel and knock out that monthly survey for us. I greatly appreciate it in advance. Also appreciate you guys being here with me Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, like I said, we're going to wrap things up as I always say to you guys here on the FOMO live stream. Plan your trades, trade your plans, or worst case, trade my plans. Go out there, get some green. I will see you. Yeah, that's right, CD. I will see you guys in the chats. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Good luck out there. Go get some green. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk to y'all soon. Take care.